The 28th of February 2026, 1 aircraft, 2 crew members, 33 hours in the air, over the most heavily defended skies on Earth. No escorts, no backup. Every second measured in survival, every decision a brush with disaster. The target, underground missile facilities built to withstand bombs. And yet against every rule of warfare, against every radar pulse watching, this lone B-2 Spirit penetrated the defenses, struck with precision, and returned home untouched. Tonight, you'll see how invisibility, physics, and human discipline combine to achieve the impossible. Stay with us because missing a single second could change everything. I have a question for you. As this aircraft moves through miles of hostile airspace, defended by layered radars, missile batteries, and operators, trained to detect the smallest anomaly, how does it survive when every rule of modern warfare says it should not? The answer is hidden somewhere in this story. Keep watching, because the moment you'll see how physics, engineering, and human precision come together is coming, and it's the only thing standing between this bomber and destruction.
If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe for more.
The 28th of February, 2026, 2:17 hours, Central Missouri. The runway lights at Whiteman Air Force Base burn white against the cold. 2 figures climb into a cockpit that was never meant to be comfortable, only survivable. By every known rule of modern warfare, what they are about to attempt should fail. 1 aircraft, 2 crew members, 30+ hours in the air, a flight path stretching across an ocean, and at the end of it one of the most heavily defended airspaces on Earth. Below the wing rests nearly 40,000 pounds of precision, guided steel. Above it, 172 feet of carbon composite shaped not for speed, not for dogfighting, but for disappearance. No fighter escort will follow them to the target. No rescue force will wait nearby if something goes wrong. No margin for error exists once they cross into Iranian radar coverage.
If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe for more.
History insists this is reckless. The aircraft begins to move. The B-2 Spirit was born in the early 1980s for a war that never came engineered to slip through Soviet defenses so dense they were described as impenetrable. When the Soviet Union collapsed, logic dictated the program should die with it. It did not. Instead, it survived as a relic, rare, controversial, staggeringly expensive. Only 19 remain operational. Every loss is irreplaceable. Every mission risks a national asset measured not only in billions of dollars, but in strategic leverage. And now, in 2026, that relic is rolling toward the runway, because no other aircraft can do what is required tonight across the Atlantic. Iranian integrated air defense networks are already awake. Surface-to-air missile batteries sit on alert. Radar arrays scan constantly for the shape of intrusion. They were designed to kill exactly what is coming. At 2:23, the bomber rotates into the dark. The wheels leave Missouri.
If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe for more.
For the next 30 hours, the crew will not see sunlight the way ordinary people do. They will eat in shifts. They will manage fatigue chemically and mechanically. They will refuel in midair twice, possibly 3 times. One mistake in darkness over the open ocean ends the mission before it begins. And this is the easy part, because ahead of them lies a target buried beneath reinforced concrete and mountain rock ballistic missile infrastructure, hardened precisely against air attack. No rational commander would attempt a conventional strike, so they are not attempting one. They are betting on physics. They are betting that radar will fail to see them. And if that bet is wrong, this aircraft will not outrun what rises to meet it. 3:41 hours, mid-Atlantic. The bomber is alone now. Tanker lights fade behind it. The ocean below is black and indifferent. Inside the cockpit, the crew speaks in controlled tones, every word deliberate. Every checklist followed without deviation. Fatigue has already begun its quiet work. Ahead of them lies a simple equation: if radar sees them, they die. Radar is not guesswork, it is mathematics. Electromagnetic pulses radiate outward, strike an object, and return. The stronger the return, the clearer the picture. Conventional aircraft reflect those pulses like mirrors. Vertical tails, engine inlets, weapons, hanging beneath wings, every angle becomes a beacon. The B-2 Spirit was built to break that equation. Its wings curve without sharp interruption. Its engines are buried deep within the fuselage, shielding turbine blades from exposure. Its surfaces are layered with radar-absorbent materials that convert electromagnetic energy into heat instead of reflection. Invisibility is not magic, it is subtraction.
If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe for more.
But subtraction is never perfect. Iran's air defense network is not a single radar. It is a layered system, long-range acquisition radars, mid-band tracking systems, mobile missile batteries, infrared search and track sensors. Some are domestically produced. Others trace their lineage to Russian designs intended to counter stealth aircraft specifically. By every known rule of engagement, saturation and redundancy win. If one sensor misses, another might not. And unlike the Cold War simulations this aircraft was designed for, tonight's battlefield is dense with digital integration. Data flows between nodes. A faint anomaly in one sector can be cross-referenced in another. Patterns emerge where none were visible before. Stealth does not make an aircraft invisible. It makes it small, and small objects can still be detected if someone is looking hard enough. 5-12 hours. The bomber approaches the edge of monitored airspace. No alarm sounds inside the cockpit. That does not mean they are unseen, on the ground. Operators watch green scopes bloom and fade. Most returns are commercial traffic, weather scatter, background noise. The air is never truly empty. Somewhere within that noise, a deviation could exist. History suggests this is where missions unravel, not in explosions, but in subtle detection. A slight inconsistency, a track that should not be there. Inside the cockpit, the mission commander reviews the penetration route again. They are about to test whether decades of engineering still outrun decades of countermeasure. Because if even one radar locks with certainty, missiles will rise. And this aircraft, for all its brilliance, was not designed to dodge what it cannot see. 603 hours Western Iranian airspace. By every known rule of warfare. This is the point where the hunter becomes the hunted. The bomber crosses an invisible line on a digital map, a boundary defined not by geography, but by engagement range. Long-range surface, 2 air missile systems can now theoretically reach them. Acquisition radars sweep at intervals calculated to detect precisely this type of intrusion. Inside Iran's integrated network, batteries inspired by systems such as the S-300 sit dispersed, hardened, and camouflaged. Their purpose is singular: deny airspace to technologically superior adversaries. No rational commander would send a subsonic aircraft into that envelope without escorts, electronic jamming, or decoys saturating the sky. There are none. The cockpit remains dim. Displays glow in muted tones to preserve night vision. The aircraft flies at high altitude, not skimming terrain, not sprinting for speed. Speed is irrelevant. Stealth is the only defense. But stealth does not eliminate infrared signatures. It does not erase wake turbulence.
If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe for more.
It does not prevent passive detection systems from listening instead of emitting. On the ground, operators observe their screens. Most of what they see is noise, civilian traffic patterns, atmospheric distortion. Birds at altitude. Modern air defense is as much interpretation as detection. And interpretation is where doubt lives. A faint irregularity appears on one scope, then disappears. It is below the threshold. It does not generate a track. It might be interference. It might be nothing. History insists this is how disaster begins, not with certainty but with ambiguity. Inside the bomber, the crew runs silent. No external emissions beyond what is absolutely necessary. No radio chatter. No unnecessary radar usage. The aircraft relies on pre-mapped intelligence, terrain databases, and inertial navigation refined to extraordinary precision. Every minute inside hostile airspace compounds risk. Fuel calculations tighten. Time on. Target windows narrow. A single deviation requires recalculation. A single recalculation increases workload. Fatigue sharpens into strain. and ahead of them lies the objective ballistic missile infrastructure buried beneath reinforced concrete and mountain strata, engineered specifically to survive air attack. By conventional logic, this should require waves of aircraft. Instead, 2 people approach alone. At Fay hours, the mission commander arms the weapons. Bomb bay doors will open for seconds. Seconds are enough, because the moment those doors separate, the aircraft's radar cross-section expands dramatically. The shape designed to vanish will briefly become visible, and in those seconds, every defensive system within range has the opportunity it has been waiting for. Fay hours target approach. The aircraft descends slightly, not dramatically, not recklessly, just enough to refine geometry. Below them, buried inside reinforced mountain complexes, sit ballistic missile facilities assessed to be among the most hardened in the region. Concrete layered over steel, entrances tunneled through rock, command infrastructure protected by depth, not distance. By every known rule of strategic bombing, destruction of such targets requires mass. Multiple aircraft, multiple passes, overwhelming force. Instead, there is one. Inside the cockpit, final targeting solutions align. Coordinates are checked against onboard databases and satellite updates. The crew has rehearsed this moment for years in simulation. But simulation does not replicate consequence. A single input error here means wasted ordnance. Or worse, survival without effect. At 7:02 hours, the mission commander issues the command. Bomb bay doors open. For a fraction of a second, the carefully engineered geometry of the B-face Spirit is compromised. The aircraft's radar signature spikes, not enormous, but no longer minimal. Hinges, internal cavities, suspended munitions surfaces that normally remain hidden are briefly exposed to every scanning system below. On the ground, if anyone is watching the correct sector at the correct frequency at the correct millisecond, the anomaly becomes clearer. Inside the weapons bay hang penetrating munitions designed for depth, not blast radius variants of the GBU. Massive ordnance penetrator concept, engineered to burrow before detonation release. The aircraft feels lighter. Gravity takes over. Guidance systems adjust trajectory in silence. Bomb bay doors close. The spike vanishes. But physics cannot be reversed. The weapons are falling through defended airspace, and falling objects can be tracked. If ground radar detects their descent, defensive doctrine demands response. Interceptors may not have time to reach the bomber. They may still reach the bombs. Seconds stretch. 7:03 hours. Impact registers underground, not as a surface explosion but as a seismic event. Shock waves travel through reinforced chambers. Internal supports fail. Fuel lines rupture. Command nodes collapse inward under concussive pressure. The bomber banks slightly and turns west. History insists that strikes of this magnitude trigger retaliation within minutes. Air defenses shift from detection to engagement posture. Because even if the intruder escaped the initial penetration, it must still exist.
If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe for more.
And exit routes are predictable. 7:06 hours Western egress corridor. History insists this is where missions die. Penetration is calculated. Strike is rehearsed. But withdrawal is chaos. Defensive systems that hesitated before now have confirmation. Something detonated underground. Something precise. Something airborne delivered it. On Iranian scopes, command networks light up. Data flows between regional nodes. Radar sectors reorient. Mobile batteries shift from passive monitoring to active search. By every known rule of integrated air defense doctrine, this is the moment of maximum vulnerability. The bomber is turning. Turning increases aspect angle. Aspect angle increases radar return. Even a stealth aircraft has a profile, and profiles are larger from certain geometries. For a brief arc of its bank, the aircraft is not presenting its smallest face to the world. Somewhere on the ground, an operator sees a flicker that persists half a second longer than atmospheric noise should allow. He hesitates. That hesitation is everything. Missile batteries inspired by layered defensive concepts, long-range interceptors paired with shorter range point. Defense systems wait for track confirmation. A launch without certainty wastes ammunition and reveals position. A delayed launch risks letting the intruder slip away. No rational commander fires blind, but no confident commander ignores the pattern. Inside the cockpit, workload peaks, fuel checks, navigation recalculations, timing against refueling windows over open water. The crew has been airborne for nearly 25 hours. Micro-fatigue erodes reaction time by milliseconds, and milliseconds matter when adversaries operate at Mach speeds. The aircraft does not accelerate dramatically. It cannot outrun a modern surface-to-air missile. Its survival depends on remaining ambiguous, too small to confirm, too inconsistent to commit against. And then, a radar spike holds, not long, not solid, but longer than noise. On a defensive console, a track attempts to cohere. Launch authorization is requested. This is the narrowest margin of the mission. If a missile leaves the rail now, the bomber must rely on electronic countermeasures, maneuvering, and hope, none of which are guarantees against modern guidance systems. Inside the cockpit, a warning indicator flickers. Uncertain, intermittent. The crew does not speak for 3 full seconds, because if that flicker stabilizes, the sky behind them will ignite. 7:08 hours. The warning tone does not become a scream. It remains a whisper. Inside the cockpit, both crew members stare at the defensive display. A faint indication suggests a radar attempting to refine a solution. Not a confirmed lock, not yet. By every known rule of survival in contested airspace, this is the moment that determines whether 30 hours of discipline end in fire. Modern surface-to-air systems do not behave like their Cold War predecessors. They can guide mid-course via data link, adjust trajectory dynamically, and switch seekers in terminal phase. Some rely on active radar homing. Others transition to semi-active guidance. A few incorporate infrared search to counter low observable shaping. Stealth does not defeat physics. It complicates targeting geometry. If a missile launches without a clean lock, its probability of being killed drops sharply. Its seeker must find something that barely reflects energy. It must discriminate the bomber from background clutter, from terrain returns, from the chaos of atmospheric scatter. On the ground, a battery commander weighs risk. Fire and reveal position to potential follow. On strikes, wait and risk losing the only viable track. History shows that hesitation under uncertainty is common. War punishes both rashness and delay. There is no safe decision. Inside the bomber, electronic countermeasure systems stand ready but silent. Emissions are a double-edged blade. Jamming advertises presence. Silence preserves ambiguity. The flicker persists, then degrades, then vanishes. The track never stabilizes. No missile leaves the rail. It is possible the radar return was insufficient. Possible that filtering algorithms dismissed the anomaly. Possible that human doubt intervened at the critical instant. What is certain is this. The aircraft continues west, but the danger has not passed. Air defense networks adapt. After a strike, sectors reconfigure. Operators narrow parameters. Thresholds for engagement drop. What was once dismissed as noise may now be treated as a threat. The bomber still has hundreds of miles of hostile airspace ahead. Fuel margins tighten against schedule. Tanker rendezvous windows cannot be missed without cascading consequences. And fatigue silent. Relentless fatigue now presses harder than missiles. Because survival in modern warfare is not a single dramatic escape. It is sustained precision under exhaustion. At 8:02 hours, the coastline approaches. But coastal defenses are often the densest. If a final layer activates now, the Atlantic will not be close enough.
If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe for more.
This is the answer to the question I asked you earlier. The B-2 survives because stealth is not magic, it is subtraction. Its design reduces radar reflection, masks heat signatures, and exploits hesitation in human decision-making. Even when a radar flicker appears, doubt and system limitations prevent a missile from launching. Survival here is not guaranteed by speed or firepower, but by the quiet mastery of physics. engineering, and calculated human caution. 8-11 hours. Approaching the western coastline, land gives way to sea in a thin, dark line ahead, but the most dangerous airspace often sits exactly here. Coastal defense sectors are layered by design, overlapping radar coverage, mobile launchers positioned to protect strategic corridors, shorter, range systems guarding against low-altitude penetration. By doctrine, nothing leaves without scrutiny. History insists that aircraft are most vulnerable when they believe the mission is already complete. Inside the cockpit, the crew does not celebrate. They do not relax. They track fuel flow, check navigation against pre-briefed tanker coordinates over the Atlantic. 30 hours aloft compresses time into fragments, muscles stiffen, eyes burn. Concentration becomes deliberate rather than instinctive. Below, defensive operators now know a strike occurred. Underground facilities have reported structural collapse. Communications have fragmented. Shockwaves were recorded. The attack was real. The question is no longer if an aircraft penetrated. The question is where it is now. Search patterns are narrow. Engagement thresholds lower. A coastal radar array increases power output. Its beam sweeps the sector the bomber must cross. Higher energy can sometimes compensate for reduced radar cross-section. It increases detection probability marginally, but sometimes marginal is enough. By every known rule of physics, no object can be perfectly invisible when illuminated by sufficient energy. The bomber holds altitude. Altering profile now would introduce unpredictability, and unpredictability can appear as anomaly. The aircraft's survival depends on remaining statistically insignificant. For 17 seconds, a coastal radar sweep passes across its projected path. Inside the cockpit, no alarm sounds. That does not guarantee safety. Data may be traveling to a command node miles away. Correlation may be happening in software rather than in human perception. Then they cross the maritime boundary, international airspace. But even here, risk lingers. Long-range interceptors can reach beyond coastlines. A late launch, guided by updated coordinates, could still climb to altitude and attempt terminal acquisition. Fuel is now the dominant threat. The aircraft must meet a tanker precisely on schedule, miss the window, and reserves erode rapidly. There are no alternate landing sites between here and home suitable for this aircraft without diplomatic escalation. At 8:47 hours, the crew establishes contact with the refueling track, and for the first time in hours, the mission's survival depends not on stealth but on precision, flying within feet of another aircraft in open sky. After everything they have evaded, a single misalignment here would be the cruelest ending imaginable. 9:02 hours. Over the Atlantic, the tanker appears first as a shape against dim horizon glow, steady, predictable, ordinary after hours inside hostile airspace. That ordinariness feels almost unreal. But aerial refueling is not routine when you have been awake for nearly 30 hours. The B-2 Spirit eases forward, closing the final distance at a speed differential measured in knots. The boom operator above guides them with small corrections. Up, forward, hold. The margin is feet. Too low, disconnect. Too high, structural damage. Too aggressive, catastrophic contact. By every known rule of aviation safety, fatigue at this level degrades motor precision. Micro tremors appear in hands, depth perception narrows, reaction time lengthens, and yet the aircraft must remain steady contact. Fuel begins to transfer. The mission that hinged on invisibility now depends on steadiness. Below them is nothing but water if refueling fails. Options collapse quickly. Diverting to Europe introduces diplomatic and operational complications. Diverting short of range is not an option at all. Minutes pass. Fuel levels stabilize, disconnect. The bomber banks gently west. Only now, with the ocean separating them from the defended coastline, does probability begin to favor survival. But history warns against premature conclusions. Missions like this do not end over water. They end when wheels touch concrete at home base. Inside Iran, damage assessments unfold. Satellite imagery will later reveal collapsed tunnel sections. destroyed infrastructure, disrupted missile readiness. Engineers will calculate repair timelines. Strategists will debate deterrence implications. On paper, it will be read as a successful strike. On the aircraft, success is measured differently. No alarms triggered, no missiles launched, no structural damage sustained, no crew incapacitated. Yet exhaustion has hollowed both pilots. Stimulants wear thin, autopilot assists, but command responsibility never truly transfers. Every system must still be monitored. Every parameter is still verified.
If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe for more.
The irony that defines this aircraft's history hangs unspoken, designed for a nuclear war that never came. Nearly cancelled as an expensive relic now, the only manned platform capable of executing this mission alone. The Atlantic stretches endlessly ahead, and still 6 more hours remain before Missouri. 18 hours central Missouri. The runway at Whiteman Air Force Base comes into view through a haze of controlled fatigue. 33 hours have passed since takeoff. By every physiological metric, the human brain at this stage performs like one legally impaired. Reaction time slows, peripheral awareness narrows, minor procedural slips become statistically more likely. And yet the final phase of flight allows no error. Unlike most combat aircraft, the B-2 Spirit does not offer generous visibility during landing. The cockpit sits far forward. The long flying wing configuration provides no traditional fuselage reference. Crosswinds demand careful correction. The landing gear, engineered to support immense weight, punishes hard contact. There is no applause waiting, no crowd. Only ground crews trained to approach cautiously, mindful of classified coatings and sensitive materials. The aircraft descends, flare. Main gear touches. For the first time in over a day, the machine is no longer moving at operational speed. History would prefer to end the story here, wheels down. Mission complete. But war does not measure success by safe return alone. Inside Iran, secondary effects ripple outward. Missile readiness is disrupted. Command nodes must reroute communication. Air defense commanders review data logs frame by frame, searching for what they missed. Because something passed through, something struck hardened targets once thought secure. And it did so, without triggering a single confirmed engagement. That realization carries its own strategic weight. Back in Missouri, engines spool down. The crew does not celebrate. They sit still for a moment longer than necessary, because what they accomplished defies the assumptions of conventional air-power doctrine. 1 aircraft, 2 crew members, no escorts, no losses. By every known rule of warfare, such odds should require numbers. Instead, the mission relied on geometry, discipline, and the narrow psychological space between detection and doubt. The aircraft that was nearly deemed unnecessary has once again proven irreplaceable. But the story is not about a machine, it is about fragility, because invisibility is never permanent, and the margin between unseen and destroyed grows thinner every year. History prefers decisive battles, massive formations, clear victories measured in territory gained or armies destroyed. This was not that. The 28th of February 2026 will not be remembered for dogfights or explosions lighting the sky. Most civilians never saw it. Most radar operators never confirmed it. There were no dramatic missile contrails arcing upward in response. And that is precisely the point. By every known rule of warfare, airspace defended by layered radar networks and modern surface. 2 air systems should deny access to a single penetrating aircraft. Doctrine says survivability comes from saturation. Numbers overwhelming force. Instead, 1 aircraft passed through. The B-2 Spirit was designed in an era defined by the Cold War, engineered to slip past the Soviet Union's dense defensive web. When that adversary vanished, the bomber became controversial, expensive, rare, almost obsolete by political calculation. Only 21 were ever built. 19 remain operational on paper. Such scarcity suggests vulnerability in practice. It creates strategic leverage. Because when hardened ballistic missile infrastructure buried beneath reinforced mountain complexes required destruction, there was no substitute. No other manned platform in the inventory could carry penetrating munitions of that weight. travel intercontinental distances without forward basing, and reduce its radar signature enough to enter modern integrated defenses alone. The mission over Iran was not proof of invincibility. It was proof of margin, a narrow band of survivability created by physics, materials science, and human discipline. A band so thin that a different radar operator, a different filtering threshold, a different second of hesitation could have altered the outcome entirely. War often hinges on overwhelming superiority. This mission hinged on doubt. Doubt inside radar returns. Doubt inside engagement authorization. Doubt long enough for 2 crew members to open their bomb bay doors for seconds and close them again. The irony remains unavoidable. An aircraft built for a nuclear confrontation that never happened became the decisive instrument in conflicts it was never originally designed to fight. But invisibility is not eternal. Air defense technology evolves, detection algorithms improve, sensors diversify across electromagnetic and infrared spectra. Each year narrows the advantage stealth provides, which raises a final question: when the margin disappears, what replaces it? Because history has shown that the aircraft almost canceled, almost too expensive, almost unnecessary. It was the only thing that could do the job, and next time, there may be no second chance.
If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe for more.